Hello there, welcome back to my channel, Crafty Concepts with Erin. I have a very fun interactive layout for you today featuring the travel collection. This is called Are We There Yet? It's from close to my heart, and I have just been loving this. I've been documenting a trip to Italy we took last summer, and if you're anything like me, when you travel, you take a ton of photos, and I mean a lot of photos. Look at all of these pictures. So I will frequently say you do not need to have all the photos that you took that day. Often they're kind of repetitive, and it really helps to narrow it down to the most important photos, your favorite photos, the ones that tell the story. Well, I did that and I still have so many pictures, you guys, it's crazy. It was just such a cool day, and all of these are important. As you can see, we were visiting the Roman Colosseum and we took a tour. So I have some shots of the actual Colosseum, and then we have pictures up on the hillside. So the tour took us up because there's so much more. There's ruins, the palace, and then the gardens. I mean, so many cool things to see that were important to this day. And then we're inside the Colosseum. And yeah, so the smallest ones I have are 3x4s, and then they go up to 4x6s. So I'm going to show you, I'll tell you more about all of these fun photos as we go through. But yeah, so many fun little details of this day. So we definitely want to work them all into the layout. And I also like to keep one event confined to one layout. Sometimes you can't, and that's okay, but I'm going to pull it off today. So let me clear these up and we'll get started. It is going to be a double page layout. So we have 2 Versamats here. And then I'm going to build this layout on a nice crisp sheet of white daisy. There's a lot of patterns going on, a lot of photos. So kind of having some white space for your eye to rest is always helpful. When you are working with this many photos, it can be very overwhelming. So I did turn to Cricut Design Space just to design this layout. Not the embellishments, but the photo placement, photo sizing, and my papers. I wanted to make sure I had enough papers for all of the, elements that I was going to add and that it would work. And it just kind of helps because you're playing around in Design Space and you can make adjustments without cutting into your papers. So now you know, okay, this is going to work, and I know exactly what I'm going to do with this. So when I'm deciding on my photos, I look through my photos. First of all, they're on my iPhone. I go and I put a heart on all of the ones I want to include, and then I drop those into an album. So I'm only looking at those photos, and then I decide which pictures are the most important. And to me, this was the most important photo. It's my favorite one. And then also this group family shot inside of the Colosseum. I was a little bit bummed because we were there with my friends and I did not get a group shot of all of us, and I wish I had done that. But, I've got my family here. And so those are going to be the, main photos on the very first page. Let me clear these up and we can start bringing in the pattern papers. Fortunately, I had one whole sheet of this, so I cut it at 4 inches. So we have 8x12. That's going to go on the right side. And then I have a 4x12. And that'll be over here. So when they're sitting together in the album, that will look like one continuous 12x24 piece. I cut this at 8 inches for a couple reasons. For one, I'm going to use a flip flap, and there are 8x12 flip flaps. So I'm going to show you how that will come into play. Now we have 4 3x4 photos, so it works very well to group these. Actually, I'm going to put this one down over here because I'm facing in. And then I want to offset the blue sky. So I've got blue sky in this one and then also this one. So that'll kind of spread that out. And then we have kind of the close-up shots of the people. So that looks nice. So you have kind of these angles going on for a nice balanced look. I really want my photos to pop off of the busy background paper. I mean, not that that's a super busy pattern, but this will just give it a little definition. I've printed them with the white border, so those are really going to pop off of that sapphire blue background. And the little buildings and historical places of interest on the paper are in sapphire, and that background is mink, which I think complements the stonework really, really well. So I like how that all ties in together. I also have photo mats for these photos here that I cut from the same sapphire paper. I also wanted to bring in this map paper. I didn't quite have a full piece, but I had enough. So this one is 7 inches by 10. That's what's showing. I cut it at 7 1/4 just because I like to have it layered ever so slightly. You could just butt those up next to each other. But the 7 by 10 is what is visible. And then that's going to frame that photo in perfectly. I'm going to put this one here so those corners kind of line up together. And then this piece is 5 inches by 10. So that's going to be kind of like a continuation underneath there. So we'll just get that situated. So we have a 1-inch margin all the way around using our Versamat. That makes it super easy to line those up. My friend Janice created a layout with this collection, and she added some ink blending to the edge of the map paper, and it's gorgeous on its own. And I usually ink up my edges, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently today. Rather than just taking my little sponge tool and doing just the edge, I'm actually going to darken the map paper, kind of like a vignette. We're going to use Glacier because that's Glacier background paper. And then you'll need a blending brush. I like these for this technique because it goes on very softly. When you use one of these, you can get circles. You kind of need to blot it off and be a little more careful. The brushes are more forgiving, I think, and easier to use. Working on the all-purpose mat gives us a nice wipeable surface because you will be getting your workspace messy. So I love to just bring this mat in. It has a silicone backing so it does not slide around, and then the top is this smooth surface that nothing sticks to, not even paint or adhesive. It just peels right up. So it's really nice for projects like this. I have sped this up quite a bit, but you just basically want to go around in a circular motion, and you can create a color as intense or subtle as you like. It's really personal preference. And it isn't showing up as much on camera because of my bright lights as it is in person. But doesn't that look nice? I went ahead and added ink blending to the opposite side, and then we're going to add these strips of yellow pattern paper. These are 2 by 12. This is really going to add just a pop of color and kind of just lift those photos up off the page. This one we're sliding underneath, but I do want this to look continuous, so I've cut just a few scraps to bridge those little gaps there. I also have the zip strips or the branding strip, and I'm going to repeat the process. So we're sliding those underneath. This one, I want the arrows kind of pointing into the layout. And then I cut a couple little scraps to fill in the pieces on either side of my photo block. And I'll pause the camera and get all of my paper layers adhered down using a Tombow tape runner. That way you guys don't have to watch me doing the tedious part. So how this layout's going to work is this will flip over like that. And then if you didn't want all that yellow, you could, back that with a different piece of pattern paper. But I like the yellow. It is going a different direction, and that's my fault. I didn't catch that in the beginning, but you know what? It doesn't bother me enough to change it. And what we're going to do is repeat this. So I have the same exact grid of 3 by 4 photos on the inside. And that's going to sit just like that. So we have more, same thing. I put the shots of the people. That's my son, his girlfriend, and I, a little group shot. And then my son and his girlfriend are looking down into the Colosseum. So it's exposed. This was the floor originally, and this was underneath. This was the network of tunnels and the little cells and everything underneath the floor of the Colosseum. So they're looking down into that structure. And then this is up on the hillside looking down into parts of the palace. And it's just incredible. It is incredible. It's just something you really should go see if it's ever on your bucket list. Make it happen. It's amazing. I want to add a little bit of that glacier color to this inner panel, and this is a pocket card. It's a little bit different style of mat, but I think that the two work together. It doesn't have to match exactly. So I don't want to waste any of this pocket card, so I am cutting the inner portion, and I can use that on another project. And this way we'll just create this frame and this little pop of color to add some continuity to the inside of this flap, matching the outside. I have even more photos. I'm going to add these under here. This is a 4x6, and then I have a second 4x6 on top. Now I'm going to be using 4x6 flip flaps because I have 4 3x4 photos hidden underneath here, and I'm going to have more under the top photo as well. And then this will sit just like so. I want to start working on my title, so I have the Moxie alphabet because I've used this on a few other of the travel layouts. Now this is a pretty good size font, but I really like it because it has coordinating dies, and when you stamp it onto a different color cardstock and then die cut it out, you get a border, so it really stands out against the background. Or you could stamp them right on your project also. So you can see there's two sheets for the whole alphabet here. And the vowels are lowercase and the rest of it is uppercase, so it's kind of a fun look. Now I have already placed these into my MISTI so I can stamp them all at once, and I use blue a lot. I'm going to use Sapphire. It's one of my go-to colors, so those are a little bit stained. And you're just going to secure a strip of white cardstock in there, and then just make sure you have room to stamp that. And you'll notice I have spaced these out because I want room for the coordinating dies. This is the MISTI original stamping platform. You absolutely do not have to have one of these. You can just use an acrylic block, but if you need to restamp things or you really want that nice, crisp, intense color, then a stamping platform is very handy. Plus, you can do them all at once like this. I did ink those up a second time, and we're just pressing down, and that looks pretty good. So now I want a little bit of thickness to these letters. So what I'm going to do is add some adhesive to the back side, and then I can adhere a second layer of white daisy. And now I'll go ahead and die cut these out, and they'll already be adhered together. So we're just going to line up the coordinating dies. I will adhere that with some Post-it removable tape and run it through my die cutting machine. I want my title to read Roman Colosseum. Super original, I know. I laid the stamps out on the layout ahead of time, and there isn't enough room. Roman fits perfectly, but Colosseum is a much bigger word, so that's okay. I love the look of mixing and matching fonts. This is a retired die set, but I love them because they're kind of thin, so you can fit a lot. Let's see how this looks. I do like that. I like how the height kind of, to me, mimics the height of the Colosseum. I think that looks cool, but it's maybe a little bit too big, so let's try a different option. I have a much smaller die. This one's called Simple Serif. There's an upper and lowercase, so let's see how this looks. So this one fits height-wise, but it's a little bit too long lengthwise, so we have one more option. Well, we've got lots more options, but one more option I'm going to try. I have these white alphabet foam stickers, and these are really neat because you can color them to match your layout. So you can color these with ink or marker or just leave them white. And I think they're really fun. I usually don't buy alpha stickers because it seems like you use up all like the main common letters and then you are stuck with a bunch of leftovers and they're hard to use. But these were on sale and a really good price, so I like the flexibility of being able to color them. But I think the white's going to look good, and I think I have it on wax paper so I could try it out before committing, and I really like that. I think that is the winner. I could color it blue, but yeah, I think the white works. So I'm going to use my T-square ruler here, and if you flip it upside down, there's a lip on one side. It's flat when you're using it oriented right, where you can look at the measurement marks. It is flat on the back, and that way everyone can use it. Even if you don't have a Versamat, if you have a glass mat or something like that, it'll move around and not have like a lip. But with the Versamats, if you flip it over, and even though the numbers are upside down, it's still very easy to read if you need the measurement marks. But I'm just going to line this up at the 3-inch mark on my Versamat, and it's 14 inches, so it goes all the way across, and then I can just line these up using that ruler edge. I recommend you don't press them all the way down until you are 100% sure. So I just tack down the bottom of the letter. And then when I'm happy with the placement, I can go through and smooth the rest of them out. They are forgiving until you really commit to adhering them to the layout. We are ready to start the fun embellishing process. So I have a bunch of pocket cards still left over. I want to thumb through these and see if there's anything I can use. That one's cute. I don't want to introduce the green. The blue's not quite right. So there's 3x4 and 4x6, and sometimes I use them just for layering. Other times I'll fussy cut elements out. They're great for journaling blocks. I kind of like that one. That one's too busy. That one might work. Cameras always work. And there's Dave. I don't know how you guys all have cats that just sit and watch you scrapbook. Dave has to be right smack in the middle. It never works. There is a darker blue pocket card. It says life is a grand adventure, enjoying the journey. And I really like that one. I thought maybe we could layer this larger one underneath that. I'm going to tuck it under this panel here, but I don't like how it's interrupting the yellow strip, so let's put that behind. I already adhered that down, so I am going to use my little trusty Cricut spatula just to lift that adhesive so I can tuck this underneath. I appreciate how that pocket card introduces the papaya color because that's going to allow me to bring it into other areas on the layout. So we'll layer our card right over the top. I don't know if I want that straight or on an angle. I can always come back to that. I have lots of bits and pieces left over. Some of these are die cuts, like these tags. Some are punch outs from the workshop collection. I've got lots of stickers like this one here and this little arrow piece that says this way. There's another one that says that way. They're super cute. And then these tags I die cut myself. These are all left over from creating my previous layouts. Oh, this is cute. You know what, I might want this up here instead. I'm trying to bring that yellow to the top. And I also want to bring in the melon color that we introduced in the pocket card. So I already have this tag die cut from the Tabs and Tags Thin Cuts. And then I have several stickers here. So these could all potentially go on the layout. This little one here says landmark. I thought that was very appropriate. And you can always use cameras. And normally when I'm creating embellishment clusters, I like to layer both behind and on top of my photo, but I don't want to cover any portion of the photo, so I'm being mindful of that. I also have this Roman Colosseum stamp. This is so cute. There's one for all of the icons on that pattern paper. Perfect for traveler's notebook sizes. But I'm going to stamp a little embellishment here. So I have a circle that I die cut with my stitch circle dies, which are retired. But I love that faux stitching detail. And I'm just going to ink this up in Sapphire ink. And we'll stamp it right in the center. And there's also the words that say Roman Colosseum. So I'm going to line that up underneath. Let me just pick that up. These tiny ones are just easier. Lay them down on the table and pick it up with the block. We'll stamp the words right underneath. And there, yeah, I really like that. It's going to be a perfect little addition to this layout. I want to add a little something to the top of my little photo block here. So we have this little kind of luggage tag type thing. And then I have this, it's super cute, but look, that is a paw print. Darn it, Dave, thanks a lot. I'm going to have to just kind of camouflage that. So we'll hide where most of the paw print is. I could take some toffee ink and actually ink blend over that and blend it in, and then you'd never know. But I think this is going to work. There's also this little geotag sticker, adding a little bit more of that melon color. And then this, I love to kind of tie the corners in together. It needs a little pop of that melon also, so I cut a slightly larger circle to mat the white tag on, and that's going to look good there, but I don't like it by itself, so we could put this little this way sticker. And I also have this one. It says enjoying the view. Now we don't want to forget about the inside of our flip flap here. I like this on the bottom because now we have that visual triangle. Let's beef that up a little bit, adding a few more embellishments. So we're going to tuck the white tag, and then this will go off to the side. I also have these little adhesive backed rubber shapes. These are so cute. They're suitcases and little like backpacks. We weren't carrying suitcases this day, but we definitely had a backpack. So I'm going to use this one. Plus it brings in that papaya color. And, let's add a little bit more character. This is the Are We There Yet stamp set, and it creates these fun borders. Now, the option with the thin cuts has already sold out, but the stamp is still available. So you can create these fun borders, but honestly, I've been cutting the pieces up. So these are all extra. There's these super cute little ticket tags, and then I cut up the border. You can use them individually. Here's the binoculars and compass, and that works perfectly. So I'm going to use that. We also have the background element stamp. I'm going to use this one here to create just a little bit of color and interest on this solid white tag. These are some of my favorite stamps, and I always think that they get overlooked because you're like, yeah, great. But you can do so many fun things and add so much interest to your projects with these background and texture stamps. I have an entire little stamp bin, which you'll see soon in my craft room tour, dedicated to stamps just like this. I also have this little banner tail suitcase pattern die cut from the workshop. So let me just kind of sneak this under there. And I like how we have all of these little random pieces working together to create one embellishment cluster. I will add an enamel dot to that tag too, just to finish it off where the hole is. Now this is the Are We There Yet scrapbooking stamp, awesome for travel. There's this little passport I had stamped. I'm going to layer that right over there. There's also this triangle that says love this place, and I think this is so cute, and you could use this for so many different type of places that you're visiting. I'm going to stamp this on white daisy in melon ink, and you know what? Let's stamp that in sapphire as well, so we have options. Go ahead and clean it off with your stamp chamois, and then you can re-ink it in a different color, and that way we could just see which one looks better. I do want to mention that Close to My Heart for the month of March 2023 has a sale going on the majority of their stamps and thin cut sets, and there's up to 60% off. So you definitely want to check that out and see if any of the stamp sets you've had your eye on are on sale, because now is the time to get them. I decided not to use the Love This Place triangle. It was a little bit too big, so I stamped this one instead. It says Best Trip Ever. This is a special stamp set I earned for earning the World Is Yours incentive trip from Close to My Heart, so I thought that was really cool that they give us those. I'll hold these up so you can get a better look at all the details before we move on to creating the interactive portion of this layout. We ended up booking a private tour guide to experience the Colosseum, and I'm so glad we did. He was so good and very engaging and entertaining and quite humorous. He had us pretending to march like Roman soldiers, and we'd move from shady spot to shady spot, and he'd say, we need to conquer this spot before the enemy does. And it was just kind of funny and lighthearted, but we learned a lot. One thing that was really interesting, the city was built on layers. They did not like clear it and then build again. They just simply built on top of it. So it's literally layered like lasagna. And when you're standing up on top, you can really see those layers. And what was interesting is they really can't uncover or excavate all of the, historical sites, because how can you determine which is more important? You can't just get to what's underneath without destroying what's on top. I do want to walk you through adding the flip flap. This is an 8x12 flip flap. So you can see it opens. There's an adhesive strip that folds over, and we are going to slide our photo in, or in this case, our whole panel. It's like half a layout, little over half a layout. So you're just going to walk this in carefully. If you have layers on both sides, just make sure it's not catching. Just take your time tucking that all the way into the flip flap. Let me just lift that up and slide it in. There it goes. Now make sure your hands are clean, because it will transfer any dirt off your fingertips onto the adhesive strip if you touch that, dirt, dust, ink, whatever. So I always go wash my hands. And I'm going to try this like my crafty friend Jessica did. She just started a little corner here. Line it up. This is much easier where you can get your head all the way over it. So I'm taking my time so that I can get it into the camera frame. And then you could just peel this back. I'm going to just make sure we're still on track here. Hold in the middle and pull the rest of the way. Now, before you burnish it in, just make sure everything is lined up. That's looking good. And then you can just really press that in and seal the deal. Now I have 4x6 flip flaps as well. What I like about these is there's kind of two different orientations. So you have this option here with the adhesive on the small end. You could flip it open like that, or you could use it for portrait style. And then you also have this option if you like yours flipping up, which I do. So I'm going to tuck this garden photo into the 4x6 flip flap. And then just like the big one, I can adhere that down to the page protector. Some people choose to cut the page protector, adhere it right to the layout, and feed it through the cut, but I think this works just fine. And look at, you can open all those up all together and see them all at once. That looks really cool. For still shots of this layout, you can head over to Instagram, Facebook, or Pinterest. All of my socials are listed in the description box below, along with everything I used to create this layout. If you're looking for more interactive scrapbooking layouts, check out this one right here. Thanks for spending time with me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.